The focus in Paul Fling and Donald Puterbaugh's book, The Basic Manual of Fly Tying, is imitating nature. So this is a simple Mayfly nymph. I'm going to start with, I plucked a little feather off of this piece of bird hide. I have no idea even what it came from, but a tiny little feather that I'm going to trim . This is going to become the wing casing, but I'm going to prepare it ahead of time. Before I put it on the fly. Lock it into the vise here, and then I'm actually using JB Super Weld. That's UV glue. So I'm going to harden this. Could do this at the end also, but I think it spreads nicer this way. And that's the way that Fling and Puterbaugh suggests it be done. I'm going to set that aside. They suggest, since this is a nymph, that it be tied on a 1x or 2x hook. I'm using a 14. I think this is a 2x, but it might. It is in an unlabeled bag, so I don't even know for sure. So this has got a tail, soft hackle tail. So I'll be using this brown soft hackle for the tail and for the collar or the throat. I'm going to be using, this is actually fine gold wire for the rib, and Awesome Possum, I'll be using the brown dubbing. And the thread I'm using is this rusty brown in 140 Ultra. So start by laying down some thread. It's kind of the way we start all the flies, isn't it? Tie in the tail. So I'm just going to grab a few fibers off that feather. I'm going to use the same feather for both the throat and the tail, about a shank length. If we take one wrap underneath, that helps hold that up. I'm going to clip out my extra here. Take my thread up to where I'm going to tie in my wire. Back to about where the barb on the hook would be. Now I'm going to put in the body with this brown dubbing, and you can use really any dubbing you want here, particularly something that's going to absorb water and sink, since this is a nymph and it's fished deep. Wrap the dubbing for the body. We only come up a little over halfway up the shank. And then wrap our wire. So the dubbing is obviously touching wraps. The wire is spiral wraps for a rib. Helicopter or clip, and I have somewhere here some scissors that I use only for clipping wire. And then the thorax is another little bit of dubbing. It's a little bit heavier than the body. At this point I'm going to invert the hook, take another few strands of the soft hackle and tie that in on the bottom side of the hook, about out to the point of the hook. They call it the throat. Turn my hook right side up. I'll take that little piece of feather that I glued earlier, set it on top, and tie that in for a casing. Clip out that tail. And finish with a whip finish, and I'll put a little bit of head cement on that knot. And a simple Mayfly nymph.